Boys at the back. If I can roast these girls, I'll roast you. Constructing constraints. What did I just show you? The constraints were written out for you. We just looked at them, we drew the lines. But the most questions, ask this kid, most of your questions, were they worded? Were they in words and you had to construct the constraints yourself? Yeah. It was like sausages and protein and everything. So far, we've drawn simplexes from constraints that you were just provided. In worded problems, it's more complex. You need to interpret the constraints from the question information. Sometimes it's useful to tabulate the given info in an organized fashion. This makes it easier to make the constraints because you can see the resources in the question and you can see how the variables interact with each other. It's actually best that we just go to the example here, okay? That's why I've left that in black. This is more like a question that you need to do. Does this show you x plus y equals or is greater than or equal to 6 right now? It doesn't show you the equation. We need to get the equation. So today's lesson is about finding the equations out of this information. So what's the situation? I have a cabinet maker. He produces 2-drawer and 5-drawer filing cabinets. The cabinet maker has 34 drawers to use. That's his resources. I've got a limited amount of drawers in the back. I've got 8 locks to use, and I've got 42 square meters of sheet metal available to use in the workshop. So you can see the remainder of this tells you how much resources each drawer uses. So 2-drawer cabinets, how many locks do 2-drawer cabinets use? 2-drawer cabinets require what? 1 lock and how many square meters of metal? 2. What do the 5-drawer cabinets use? How many locks? 1. How many square meters of sheet metal? 4. That's our important information. Can you just get the example down and we'll go into the table after? Have you written a cheat sheet? What are you going to do Monday? You just chill? Just bask in your own glory? You were doing that. He was doing that anyway. Look at him. I like the compliment. If you wanted extra practice, you can do like anything in the time I didn't ask you to do. You know? But, I got them to fix the light bulb on this and it's still dim as.
Really?
Yeah. It is a public school, so.
At least it's straight. Things on the other ones that say that.
So we have a bunch of info here. We need to lock it down and put it into a table. If I decide that X is the number of 2-drawer cabinets, Y is the number of 5-drawer cabinets, I could make a table that looks like this. What are the things going into the cabinets? Drawers, locks, and metal. If X is my 2-drawer cabinets, how many drawers does a 2-drawer cabinet take up? Anyone? I have a 2-drawer cabinet. How many drawers would it have? 2. So that resource is going to be 2. If Y is the number of 5-drawer cabinets, how many drawers would a 5-drawer cabinet have?
Hopefully 5.
Hopefully 5. See how I'm filling in my table? And then you tell me, in the information, how many drawers does he have to... There's a pun there. How many drawers does he have to draw from? How many drawers does he have that limits him? What's the amount of drawers in the back?
34.
Good, 34. So if I have a limit of 34, can I go greater than or equal to 34? Or do I have to go less than or equal to 34?
Less.
Good, less than or equal to 34. Let's look at locks. How many locks does the 2-drawer cabinet require?
1.
1. How many locks does a 5-drawer cabinet require? Look at the information. You're going to have to do it. Ichi, yeah. Just because there's a Japanese guy in there. What's the limit? What's the limit on locks? How many locks does he have in stock? The cabinet maker has 34 drawers. We've dealt with that. 8 locks. If I have 8 locks to draw from, can I use greater than or equal to 8? Less than or equal to 8? Let's look at metal. How much metal does the 2-drawer cabinet require? You tell me. 2 square meters. What does the 5-drawer require? 4. And what is my limit of metal usage? 42. Can I use greater than or equal to 42 or less than or equal to 42?
Less than equal.
Why is putting it in a table useful? I didn't have the constraints written out. They're freaking written out for me now. I look down. 2x plus 5y is less than or equal to 34. So draws 2x plus 5y less than or equal to 34. Could you draw that now with that thing that I practiced without recording it? What's the locks constraint? 1x plus 1y less than or equal to 8. What's the metals constraint? 2x plus 4y less than or equal to 42. But this is a point that I want to remind you. I introduced the idea of default constraints because if I'm making cabinets, do they have to exist?
Yeah.
Well, in our minds they'll exist, but they have to exist in the context of the question. Because if I didn't make the constraint of x must be greater than or equal to 0, that means I could make -1 2-drawer cabinets. Would that make sense? No. What's the other constraint that I need to put on there to make sure I don't make -50 5-drawer cabinets?
X
Why?
is more than or equal to 0.
We already did that?
Oh, shit.
We did x. What would the next one be? Y would be greater than or equal to 0. To make sure that we don't have nonsense things. Because right now, if I drew these, it would look like this. There would be 3 lines, something like that. And we'd be colouring underneath them. Right? But the problem is, if we didn't have this, we'd be colouring underneath to infinity in the negative side, suggesting that I could make -5 cabinets, which doesn't make sense. So if I put this requirement here, that it has to be greater than or equal to 0, then it stops me making nonsense up. Okay? All you are doing in the exercise that you're supposed to do, I don't know why that doubled up. All you're doing in the exercise that comes up is to practice getting words. What do we start off with? That was a bunch of words. Was there any equations in here whatsoever?
Yep.
We put it in a table, and the table makes it easy to go down, 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 equation. Then you could graph that or something, okay? So I'll stop there.